Hey everyone, welcome to part three. I can't believe we're already on part three of ISCO USA, and I'm really happy to invite someone we've never had on New Energy Work up until today, and that's Kamala Quale. Hi there.
Hi everybody.
Thanks so much for taking the time to put this presentation. I've seen the slides, Diana, I've looked through the slides. I'm really looking forward to this evening. But before we start, I'd like to just share a little bit of an intro about you. So you've got four things here on your intro. You've got Jinshin Do. We're going to find out later how many of you are Jinshin Do practitioners. And you also do Hakomi mindful somatic psychotherapy that I'm particularly interested in as well. And we've also got background in acupuncture and Qigong, and also this heart-mind solutions. So it's like a mentoring thing. So you must be very, very busy, Kamala, by the sound of all of that.
Yeah, so I guess sometimes it is busy.
Brilliant. Yeah. So would you like to tell us a little bit about what you've got in store for us tonight?
Yes, let me just say at first just a little bit about the story of how I got into all of it. I started out, my first introduction to Chinese medicine was with Jinshin Do and Iona Tea Garden's work.
Oh, yeah.
And the hallmark of Jinshin Do is to release body tension and explore it in the process.
Okay.
And so I started doing that with my clients, and sure enough, they start talking about everything going on in their lives. And I thought, I really want to get some counseling skills under my belt. And so to help people process.
Yeah.
And so then I was introduced to Hakomi, mindful somatic psychotherapy.
Wow.
And that was started by Ron Kurtz. And there, they used, in Hakomi, they use they use mindfulness in a therapeutic way, the therapeutic use of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And I really learned the nuts and the bolts of how do you work at the interface between mind and body, between soma and psyche, and also how do you bring people along with you so that you're working in partnership and you harness their energy for to help in that transformation.
Yeah.
And then later on, I went to acupuncture school, the National University of Natural Medicine. My teacher was Heiner Fruhoff, and I learned Qigong, more Qigong there. And it was just a deepening of this complexity and beauty of Chinese medicine and the metaphors, the philosophy. So it all became this beautiful tapestry and of self-awareness and metaphor and points. And that's what became Heart Mind Solutions.
Right.
And so Heart Mind Solutions is the name I've given to this work I'm talking about and the way I share it, and been my passion for about 30 years. So
that's great. And
I'm happy to be here.
I think it's so interesting because that's also really close to a lot of the threads that we've had on New Energy Work, with clean language, Nick Pole, metaphors, getting the client engaged in their process. And I'm just really fascinated to see where you come at it from the same place in a way, from a slightly different angle. So I'm really looking forward to finding out that. That's great.
Yeah, good.
So,
well, shall we start?
Yeah, should we look at the slides?
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. Yeah, go ahead. We can look at the slide. Okay, so I've called this presentation Body, Mind, Wisdom, and How to Unlock It. And I want to explain what I mean by that by giving the metaphor of a story, which is going to be familiar to us from Chinese medicine. Mm-hmm. So the body, the soma, tells an outer story, and it does it through its posture and its gestures and the way it tenses, the way it releases, the way the energy flows, and through its pain and its symptoms. And when we pay close attention to the felt sense of the body, that outer story opens up into the inner story of the person, the psyche, the heart and mind and spirit of our human heart, mind, and spirit. Yeah. And so, and that, of course, includes our thoughts, our longings, our stressors, our beliefs, our assumptions, and also the changes that want to happen. And also our creativity, our intuition, and our connection to the Tao. So all of this together is the heart mind. It's a reservoir of all the parts of ourselves. And it's also the reservoir of that, what's sometimes called the mind within the mind, or the heart within the heart, which is our ability to connect directly with the eternal Tao through Shen. Mm. Yeah. So when we unlock the wisdom of the body, with self-awareness and this interface of soma and psyche, the body then tells us how we're organizing to meet the moment and how it's being affected. And this is often very eye-opening for people.
Yeah.
And it also is really good for our own assessment and treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
So let's go ahead. We can change the slide. And wait a minute. One other thing I wanted to say is just that we've got just a little organizing information. We've put up an article and the PDF to this presentation, and of course you can always rewatch it here. So don't worry to take notes. I'd like you to just try absorb it and enjoy it. And also at the very end, the last slide has references to anything that I refer to, videos or whatever, or ways to get a hold of me if you want. It's all going to be there on a slide at the end, so not to worry about that. And we're going to save questions till the end, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Ready? Okay, let's change the slide.
Okay. Do you want to do it? Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay. So I want to give you a taste today of this method and some skills that you can use right away with your clients. There's a lot of different applications of it, but we're going to take a look at how we can unlock a pattern of chronic tension to discover the stresses that might be perpetuating that. Mm-hmm. And I also want to show you how you can use the same skills to deepen a state of relaxation, to help the person go deeper into a felt sense of relaxation and be more in tune with that little voice of intuition that gives them the next step for healing. So we're going to go from the dense earth Jing layer to the Shen layer, and we're going to weave it back and forth. That's the art of working at the mind-body interface, the interface of soma and psyche. That's right. Okay, but first I want to put this work a little bit into context for everyone, because it involves interacting verbally with your clients at certain times during the point work, and for some practitioners that's a change. And people come to us for many different reasons. They come because they've got musculoskeletal pain or orthopedic issues, or maybe they come for internal issues. Like problems with digestion, elimination, etc., insomnia. They also come because they want to manage stress, they want to relax, and they want to get the touch and connection and the healing that comes from our relationship with them. Mm-hmm. So when people come in and their issues easily resolve, you may not need to go any farther with that. Or if they come in and they just want to relax, they also may not be interested in doing verbal work. But if their issues don't resolve, and they seem like they're in the same rut, or they feel stressed, or they say, my life just seems out of balance, then this work could be very appropriate, because they'll get a new perspective about what they're doing and how it's affecting them, and that's motivation for change. And when it comes to healing, it's necessary for us to change that inner story. It has to be reevaluated. So, yeah, I've always found it's so rewarding to do this work. It's changed my practice a lot. And it helped me move from working on a person and chasing symptoms to working with a person and bringing their energy along to go deeper to the roots. Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go. The polls.
Yeah, here we go. Let's do a poll, because I want to get to know more about the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this poll is whether you already incorporate verbal mind-body awareness, in other words, talking to your clients about what's happening. And there are the 4 options, including the last one, which says, I don't like to talk to my clients during the sessions. So it's yes, often, yes, sometimes, not yet, but I'd like to learn more. And I'm going to run the poll right now for you, and let's just see what we get. It's going to be very interesting. It's something that I've definitely changed in my own practice, I must say, Kamala. I used to be very much old school, never used to talk at all, things like that. And then I think probably through many, many decades of experience, and then and also intractable things where you're working it and you're just thinking the person is not connecting with this. That's what started me off.
Yeah.
And I just said,
Yeah.
can you feel, and I started off very simply actually myself, like, can you feel this? You know, can you feel it? And then mind goes to that part of the body and go, oh yeah. And that starts that whole dialogue off.
That's right. That starts it.
Yeah. So here we go. Look, you've got quite a lot. 39% say they often talk, 37 sometimes. So the majority do actually do it already. And you've got 20% saying not yet, but I'd like to, and only 4% saying they don't like to talk to them. But we might change their mind actually in the next hour. I don't know.
You know, it might change the mind, and also there's different levels you can do it. When we start to talk about using little statements to name experience and bring things up for the person, that's something you can do with everyone, even if you don't go deeper.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity for that. So I think there's room for everything. Great. Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, we've got another poll, I think, haven't we?
Another poll. We got one more poll.
Yeah, and that's just to find out what you practice. So I'll go run that poll straight away. It'd be interesting to see whether are you a mainly shiatsu practitioner, mainly Jin Shin Do, acupuncture, or other therapy. And I think in Europe, Jin Shin Do is not so well known as maybe it is in America. I don't know, but anyway, look, you've got 85% so far, well over 85%, saying that they mainly do shiatsu, and only one person so far, Jin Shin Do.
Okay.
And then acupuncturists and a few other therapists. So that's your audience, Kamala.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Good. Glad to know it. All right. So
do you want to do the slides?
We'll go on.
Yeah.
I'll move the slide.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. So this work of working at the body-mind interface, it involves a few important things. One is that we want to encourage people to be curious, to find out more about themselves, to do this work, and notice like what might be going on inside that is contributing to what you're feeling on the outside. A lot of times I like to tell people, our body is our faithful servant and it does everything we ask it to. But the problem is we don't realize what commands we're giving it.
Right.
So if you want to find out more about that, we can. And that really goes over well with people. It encourages them to be curious and to see if there's something deeper. Okay. And then the second thing is we've got to turn people's awareness inward towards their present felt experience in the body. And you have to stay with it long enough so that the meaning of it becomes clear. And we do that with these short open-ended statements and steady questions. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then we do little experiments in mindfulness, which I'll give you a taste of. And so then we weave it back and forth. You do something with the body, it brings up something with the mind, you weave that back to the body. You know, last week, Michael Diagro gave that presentation about the perspectives on the Neijing.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talked about was how the Neijing talks about the Jing Lo being, they called it like the warp and the woof of weaving, right? The threads.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, I feel like this is weaving back and forth from Jing to Shen. Jing to Shen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's enough talk for a minute. Let's try something.
Okay.
Let's try a little experiment, a little body-mind awareness experiment. And this will give you a chance to get a sense of what you might be carrying, what your inner story might be in relationship to some upper body tension, if we're going to look at shoulders in particular.
Okay.
So most importantly, I want you to feel what's happening for you. And I'll invite you with that in a minute, but I want to say that as I speak, you may become aware of the things I'm suggesting, or you may have come up with something completely different. So the most important thing is you just notice what happens for you. And since I can't see everybody individually, I might I'll give more guidelines than I might if I really could see you directly. But just listen to my words and see what happens. So I want to invite you to sit comfortably, but don't change your posture a lot. Sit comfortably, and if you'd like to, close your eyes. Sometimes that helps to take your awareness inwards and just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Now, first I want to ask you to take one hand and place it on your opposite shoulder in a gentle and curious way. Okay, we're not going to try and help it or change it in any way. We're just let the hand get curious and register its impressions about the texture of the muscles. Just notice, do those muscles, do they feel dense and padded, or do they feel more loose and relaxed? Or are they warm? Are they warm or cool? Do they feel tight or stretched in any way? So just let your hand go over the top of your shoulder, maybe your upper back a little bit, and maybe even down in front under your collarbone and to the upper part of your arm, just to notice how that shoulder is placing itself. Okay, and then take your other hand and do that with the take your other hand, put it on the opposite shoulder, and this in exactly the same way. Okay, just letting it notice and register its impressions, and especially notice differences, like what's the same here and what's different about this shoulder. Okay, so the top, the back, kind of the size of the muscles there, and in the front. And then just put your hands in your lap. When you're done, put your hands in your lap, keep your eyes closed, and now go back and notice your shoulders without the touch. Okay, notice any sensations that are there, like tingling or warmth or coolness. See if you can sense the general energy level in your shoulders. Do they feel loose and relaxed? Do they feel a little tight and congested? And see if you can tell with the muscles what they're doing. Like, are your shoulder muscles slightly moving up to your ears? Are they stretched out and going back? Are they pulling you towards the center? So just kind of noticing what the muscles are doing. And then very slowly and mindfully, so the key words here is slowly and mindfully, see if you can just let yourself exaggerate what's already happening, what's already going on. Right? And notice how the rest of your body responds. So if your shoulders were going up, let them go up. If they're pulling you in, let it pull you in. If they're rolling forward, let them roll forward. Okay. And then notice what happens in your jaw, in your eyes, in your upper back, in your chest, in your breath. And as you're holding this posture, notice your mood. Do you have a mood or a feeling when you're in this posture? And is that something that's familiar to you, this feeling, this mood, this posture? Let yourself imagine for the moment that you can stand outside of your body next to it and you can look at it. And just register your impression. What does this body seem to be saying? What job do these muscles think they're doing? And lastly, if your shoulders could talk right now, what would they say? If your shoulders could talk right now, what would they say? Okay, and then when you feel like you're finished, let this posture relax. Let yourself relax back and stay with any message or impressions that you got, but notice your body again and see if anything's changed. Is there any subtle way that your shoulders are postured differently? Is there any other spaciousness or relaxation? Just noticing your experience. And then if you'd like to, put any little message from your shoulders that you got from your shoulders in the chat, and we'll take a look at a couple of them.
Well, this is the first time I've had my shoulders actually talking to me before.
There you go.
That's the first. Yeah, and I'm listening to them now. That was so interesting.
What did they say?
They were saying, keep going, but try and relax as soon as you can, as soon as you get a chance. Jane says, get off my back. I'm doing my best, says Shudaba. You need to protect yourself. So there's all kinds of messages coming in there. That's so interesting.
Yes, yes. It's very interesting. And this is what I mean about how we're meeting the moment on the inside. And so I'll always follow up what people say with a little statement. So I'll say, oh, so your shoulders are saying, I need to protect you. Or your shoulders are saying, get off my back, right?
Yeah.
Or your shoulders are saying, I got to keep going for a while, but pretty soon I got to relax, right?
Yeah.
So I just use a statement like that to kind of reaffirm to you, to summarize what you just said. And when you hear it from me, hear it outside of yourself, there's a way you can settle in with it, right? Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And then and that becomes a segue then. If people want to explore that more, you can say, we could continue this and go to the table, or wherever you are in your point work, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what we just learned from that experiment, right? We learned about the muscles that are involved and how the rest of the body gets into the pattern. And we have a little bit of sense of the quality. So that gives us a sense of we've got excess or deficiency, we've got some stagnation. We maybe got the first sense of emotion and how we're organizing to meet the moment, and maybe a situation that is prompting that. And also, hopefully, we have clarity for the meridians and the point work involved. So this is an assessment method. And you can do it before the person even gets to the table, or you might do it after you've done initial palpation, or you've even done some work and it feels like you've gotten to something that you want to go a little bit deeper with. And when I take people to the table, I'll often tell them about the imagery or the metaphors of the meridians that I want to work with, or the names of the points, and that adds another dimension to their self and reflection, and sometimes it reframes it a bit. So like I might like to tell people, we're gonna work with the stomach meridian, and it's called the Sea of Nourishment. So, especially if that fits with their issue, right? Because I've chosen it fits with their issue. Or maybe the conception vessel, and I say, another name for this vessel is the Great Mother Flow, right? And that might fit exactly with what they've been telling me about, which is why I thought of it, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm working through the diaphragm, a lot of times I love the point Gate of Hope, right?
So, we love that one.
We love that one, right? Especially when it's really appropriate.
Yeah.
So that's how you can blend back and forth. Okay, so let's take a look at what we did, right?
Okay.
First of all, we stimulated a little curiosity by saying, hey, you could find out a little bit more about yourself. You want to do that, right? And then we turned awareness inward to explore the muscles, right? The muscles in detail, the body posture in detail. Then we did a slow exaggeration experiment with mindfulness.
Yeah. We
touched on an associated mood or a feeling.
Yeah.
And we touched on some memory. Is this familiar? Have you felt this before? And also a little bit like our impressions. If you stand outside and you look at it, like what do these muscles think their job is? That's the thing about being your faithful servant, right? What do they think their job is that they're doing for you over time, right? And that gives and then we follow it up with a statement and stay with that message and then weave it back to the body. So your shoulders are saying, I need to protect you, right? Stay with that. Let yourself stay with that, and let's see if we want to go deeper with it. Are there other things coming into your mind about that? That's how it would progress. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about these statements. I know Cliff was telling me about the work of Nick Pohl, the clean language, and I've seen that around a little bit, although I haven't seen a lot of Nick's stuff, but I'm assuming that it's going to be very close to what I'm talking to you about here. So short, open-ended statements really help engage mindfulness. They do a lot of things for you. They help you highlight the level of experience that you're noticing, whether it's on the physical, the energetic, the emotional, behavioral level. It helps you tie things together, I just demonstrated. It helps you make correlations for the person. And it also helps you direct awareness to the inner story from that outer story, and that to the next level, like maybe to the level of feeling or to the level of what really interests you here, or how are we going to proceed. So that's a very helpful skill. And so let me read. I put a few of these up here, and let me say them for you so you can see how I might say them. So if a person comes in and they start talking to me, and all of a sudden I notice they, even just slightly, maybe their shoulders roll in or something happens, I'll usually wait for the opportunity, and I'll say, when you say that, your shoulders roll forward. Okay. And the person, that makes the person go back and check it out themselves, and they say, oh yeah, they did roll forward a little bit. Right? Or I'm sure you've seen this a million times, that people come in and they're talking, they start rubbing their neck, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say, you just started rubbing your neck as you're talking about this. They're saying, oh yeah, I've been feeling tension. And then often I'll say, so maybe your neck has something, maybe this neck tension has something to do with what we're talking about right now, the stresses that you feel, or, whatever's appropriate there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's that. I could say something like, I notice you're clenching your jaw right now, which is another correlation. So any of these little things that you see, especially if they seem important to you, in the moment. Sometimes you'll say something and it just seems like it wasn't so important, but other times you'll really know because the person will start talking about it. If I want to say something on an energetic level or about feelings, I might say, you look tired today, or you seem sad. You look energized. It looks like you're feeling really cheerful today. Any of those kinds of things are going to target that level that's present. And also, sometimes I'm sure everybody's seen where the person's telling you about something, and all of a sudden maybe tears well up for you, or that emotions just came up for the person, but they keep talking about it. They're not talking about those emotions at all. They're trying to tell you, the story. And I will usually say, it looks like some emotion is starting to well up for you right now. Is it okay if we stay with that for a moment and see what's going on there?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that again takes you from the story to what's happening, what you're noticing that's happening. Okay. So these are short, open-ended statements. They energetically keep people in their experience better than most questions do. We'll talk about study questions in a moment.
Right.
But a question by its very nature is asking for a response.
Yeah.
So a person will check in, but they're also going to come out and tell you something. But if you make a short statement about what you're noticing, it demonstrates that you're with them, you're noticing their experience, you're trying to understand it, or you understand it well, and it just creates this bubble of connectivity that keeps the process going. Okay, and opens that window for deeper exploration. Right. So. Oh, one more thing I want to say about that, about making statements, because making statements is often a little different for us because we ask a lot of questions. And so what I tell practitioners is, if you feel like you want to ask a question, you've probably already noticed something that you could make a little statement about. And this is the skill that anyone can use anytime, whether you're going to talk if you notice something with your hands during a session, if you're talking before, you can use that skill all the time. Highly recommend it. Right. And if you want to go deeper and do a little more exploration, then you want to ask the person if it's okay to stay with this. Is it, so it looks like sadness is coming up. Is it okay with you? Can we stay with that for a moment and see what it's telling us?
Yeah.
Right. So you bring them on board. You kind of get that permission, and then you can ask them questions like I did with you guys with the shoulder tension. It's like, what qualities does this tension have? And you can mention a few things. Is it dense? Is it stretched? Is it tight? Those words send people to the level of the body, and they know more what you're talking about, and then they'll tell you what they feel, right? You can ask people, where does it begin and end? Is the pressure coming from the outside in, or does it feel like it's coming from the inside out? That's a great question when people are feeling pressure or heaviness, to let you know, because it could be pressure that's weighing them down, or it could be pressure that just feels like it's creating that tightness inside. That's a really good thing to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're working on the level of feelings,
Yeah.
You're going to use the same question. So what kind of sadness have we got here? Or what kind of tears are these?
Yeah.
Are they tears?
That's the clean question, by the way. That's actually one of Nick Post's. That what kind of is a classic clean question. So there's a really interesting overlap there. Yeah. It's very powerful, isn't it?
Right. What kind of tears are these? The joy, tears of joy, tears of sadness, and the person will tell you, right? And also you can say, what is this sadness most sad about? Okay, that's another thing. What is this sadness most sad about? That's another good question.
The interesting thing for me is it's getting them to give the information, isn't it? It's opening a space for them to feel, rather than you saying, oh, this is that, this, that, and the other, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. You know what I mean?
That is exactly it, yeah. Cliff. I mean, that is exactly it. You're trying to open that space and encourage the person to tell you rather than you telling them.
Yeah.
Right. That's working on the person, and we all want to do that, right? Because we all want to help, and we all want to get advice, and we all want to share our information.
Yeah.
But so it's this skill. This is bringing people along and empowering them.
Yeah.
Really with their own work. Okay, that's study questions. Okay, so you can do this kind of work in all three jiao. You can do it anywhere, but actually I talk about doing a 3-burner assessment. I gave that presentation for the AOBTA convention in 2021, and it's in their academy, so you can watch it and get CEUs for it. But let's take a look at these 3 jiao correlations, right? The upper body and the shoulders are going to talk a little bit more. They're going to talk about pressures and responsibilities that we feel and how we respond to it. Like, do we collapse? Do we get tight and keep going? Those kinds of things. The chest often reflects feelings, especially grief, anxiety, but also joy, love. Right? It's a strong feeling center. The neck and jaw tension you'll often see them come up because they have to do with, are people trying to control their expression or not? Are they able to express what's going on deeper inside? And the solar plexus area and the upper abdomen, in my experience, you'll find a lot of self-protective instincts going on there, because holding our breath is one of the first things we do when we're under stress. So it's going to create that kind of tension. But you'll also see fear, worry, anxiety, anger come up here, and also response to fight or flight, because that holding the breath is a response to fight or flight. And of course, that energy can move, right? It might start here in the middle jiao, but it can move up to the upper jiao. Anger is going to move up. It could tighten the chest, it get in the arms, get in your eyes, your face, right? And the energy of fear is going to go down. Could be in the lower belly, could be in the hips, legs, for the flight, right? And the lower abdomen. So the lower abdomen and the pelvis often reflect deeper issues of close relationships, maybe intimate relationships, sexuality, reproduction, birthing issues, and any traumas that might be connected there. So Jinshin Do actually favors starting with the upper body and releasing some of these avenues of expression before going deeper. But I know that in Shiatsu, you work a lot with Hara assessment and working in that core area of the body.
Yeah.
Right? So, and Winter Jade, she demonstrated that so beautifully in her presentation.
Yeah.
So this kind of work often if you're already on the table and you've done some initial palpation, that's when you might want to think about explore together. Do we want to explore something? Do we want to explore this diaphragm tension, for instance, or and then do some deeper work. The article that we have attached here, it's called Body Mind Journey with Asthma. In that, with that young woman, I did a shiatsu-like pressure with her diaphragm while she was exploring the meaning of it for herself. So you can read about that. And we worked in her belly and her chest, and her ability to breathe really improved with that.
I've just shared it. So if you want to download it, and if you can't download it for any reason, it will be on the online course, and we'll show you how you can get that later on. But yeah, a lot of people have already downloaded it, so there you go.
So they've got it. Okay. All right. So let's do another little experiential exercise here. I want to show you about how you can encourage an expansive felt body sense, how you can help the person be with it when it's already there. So we're going to use the same methods. We're going to do it the same way, but this time we're going to start with a place of comfort. And so you can use, you can work with this in any area of the body. When you start to notice, you might notice it's your shoulders that were tense before, but it could be any place. And most often this kind of work is effective at the end of a session or when you've released an area and you want to explore it, because the person's already in that more expansive state. So it's easy to help move them to the next level of that. And also I want to mention that this kind of work can help people feel more comfortable in their body. So it's good for people who have experienced trauma and they don't trust being inside their body, or they've had trauma related to touch. So to be able to help them see how they can relax their nervous system and increase that relaxation and become more comfortable, it's very good.
Okay, great.
So ready? So let's start with a little shaking.
Good idea, yeah.
Work with a little shaking. Shake out your arms, your hands. You know, you can stand up and wiggle a little bit if you want. Shake out your legs. Blah. Shake out your face, your tongue. Relax your eyes a little bit. Okay. And then get comfortable. Let yourself be comfortable in your chair. And close your eyes again if you like, so that you can turn your awareness inwards and just listen to the words that I'm saying. So let yourself become aware of a place in your body that feels comfortable, or that feels relaxed, some place that feels good. It might be in your upper body, but it might be somewhere else. It might be your hands and the way they're resting on your legs, or it might be the way your feet are placed on the ground. It could be your back against the chair. It could be anything. But let yourself notice that place and enjoy the feelings there. Enjoy the sensations. Let yourself feel that comfort and notice, what kind of sensations do I feel there? Is this a softening, a warming? Is there an expanding kind of feeling? Any kind of pleasant heaviness or pleasant lightness? Let yourself feel it and notice how the rest of your body responds, because it might be like a domino effect. One place feels more expanding and softening, and then all of a sudden you notice another place does, and another place does. And this is just encouraging your nervous system to move into its resting mode. So bathe in it, enjoy it, savor it for a moment. And see if you can go a little bit deeper into these feelings of comfort. Let yourself notice their qualities, any qualities that might be around it or within it or behind it or underneath it. You know, things you might notice like perhaps stillness or peacefulness, sense of well-being, security, anything like that. Stay with that for a moment. And let this let this place give you a message. Let this place speak to you. It could speak to you. If it could speak to you in words, what would it be saying? And importantly, let yourself notice what seems most important about this that I want to remember. Okay, so thank yourself again for being able to come to this place, for any messages, any healing guidance you got. And then let yourself come back. And if you want to, you could put a few words in the chat about any message that came from relaxing.
Wow, that was great. I had the whole chest area. And the funniest thing was, it was the thing it told me was, enjoy being calm, it said. And then it had a word with my shoulders. I could hear it talking to my shoulders saying, you see, just calm down. And so this whole dialogue started going on between the comfort zone and the thing that we did earlier.
Cliff, that is really perfect. And that, if you told me that and we were in a session,
yeah,
I would say, yeah, let's stay with that for a moment and just let those two places talk a little bit. Maybe you can just let your breath go from one to the other so that they really get a chance to hear each other.
Yeah.
Right? Because these inner parts of ourselves, a lot of times they're not talking. They're actually, we've walled them off and they're isolated from the rest of us. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a really great intervention, is to anchor that.
Yeah, it was very powerful. And Shudaba says everything is okay. I think this is great. It's okay. You are powerful. I love that. That's really good. I'm fed, grounded. You're okay. You're safe. Opening and smiling with liquid warmth from Linda. That's great. In my chest, I love and I need to feel connected to others. That was Aria. That's a lovely one. Everything is there. It's fine. It's good. That was in the chest. Safe and calm again. So there's definitely a theme there. And I think it's very interesting that no matter how much we try not to, we do tend to always think about pathology, don't we? Because people come to us with problems and things like that. It's so easy to forget the actual resources, the actual positive aspects that can be harnessed, isn't it?
It's so important. And that's one of the things that I want to get across, because when we do that, especially this kind of an exercise, everything's quiet and Shen's just more available, right? And those healing messages, you're giving yourself permission. And so many times at the end of a session, the person says, oh, I feel great. I'm all totally relaxed. And we say, great, okay, all done, And,
it's so true,
so we're missing that opportunity. And also this opportunity, with Jin Shin Do, a lot of times we'll work on one side of the body and then change to the other side.
Yeah.
And so if you've worked in one place in the body, you can often stop and have the person notice the difference between the two. And I'll say, this side, we've worked on it and you've really relaxed and let it go. This side's what you came in with, right? So maybe just notice those differences. And there again, like you were saying, you can have the released side, the one with the relaxed message, talk to the one that's
great idea. That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. So we've pretty much said this. I've pretty much already said it, that and here I've listed the steps.
Okay.
Right. Notice this is what we did. Notice the sensations of spaciousness, suggest they stay with it, notice the qualities. Here I want to say one thing, and that is that when you ask people, so words like softening, expanding, feeling that heaviness or feeling that lightness, those are words that trigger you into the movement of chi, right? Because the tissue is opening, it's softening and opening, or it's relaxing. And then when you tell them to let the rest of the body feel that, then they know exactly, like, oh, it's softening. Yeah, let me soften some more. And then it all goes out, and then the rest of the body starts going, right? So those kinds of words that are talking about the movement of energy are good words to use when you're doing this kind of work with someone.
Yeah.
Okay. And also this thing about seeing what's important about that, what you want to remember. Okay. I'm going to say a little bit more about that now.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is that asking the person, no matter what the session is,
Yeah.
at the end of the session, ask the person, what's most important to you about what we did in this session today
Yeah.
that you want to remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you might think something was important and they'll think something else.
Totally. Well, I think that happens a lot of the time.
It happens a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so this is about letting go of our agendas as
Yeah,
practitioners
totally.
and seeing what is it that the person's bringing forward. And then a lot of times we're really great to give homework, but like let them give the homework. So you can say, oh, so how do you think you could incorporate that in a doable way a little bit this week?
Yeah.
Right? Let them give themselves the homework.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then that's the ongoing link that you have to work with them. You say, great, I'll check in with you about it next time.
Yeah, brilliant.
And put it in your notes, and next time follow up on it. And if the person says, a lot of times the person say, oh my God, I forgot all about that. My life got away with me. I didn't even think about it. It's all information. And you can say to the person, well, you could check in with yourself right now and see if that's important. Do we want to continue that and stay with it? Or is there something else that's important for you today?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm letting them set the agenda too.
Yeah, that's
right?
great. Yeah.
But I know, and I'm confident in the background that if it's important, it's going to come back again because our patterns are cycling. We're cycling all the time. And so when I hear it come back again, I can stitch it together and I can say, this work we did right now, it really reminds me of the work we did even in our first session together where you were talking about this and that. It's just another piece of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can keep stitching it together. So completion and integration, it's a really nice way to end the work. Okay. All right. Last slide here. Awareness, change, and cure. So in the Suwen, which is part of the Neijing, there's a quote that says, there must be a change within the inner disposition for an illness to be cured.
Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, what's our inner disposition? It's our inner story. Right? It's our assumptions, our beliefs, our behaviors, our emotions, our stressors. Okay, and those things within us, they inform our intent, our concepts, our intent,
Yeah.
our will, what we put our will into, and what our actions are, and how that affects our body and our health.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'd like to leave it with, we can't change until we know what we're doing. Okay, and a lot of these things are unconscious.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with this work is we're bringing things up for consciousness, up to consciousness,
Yeah.
where the person can reevaluate, where things can be changed, and where change can happen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. So now it's a chance, if you've got any questions, you can put them in the chat. I will mark them up. We've got one so far. So let's just do that. I'm just going to flash it up. Here we go. Okay, so here's Hannah. This refers back to the exercise and about how one meets the moment. She said, does it mean that the feelings one might have encountered in the exercise is how one meets the moment?
Yes, the feeling is going to be part of that, right? So if you find that you're feeling determined, right, then determination is a part of how you're feeling and you're responding. If you're feeling self-protective, then those feelings are there. You might notice, I have to protect myself, but underneath that there'll be feelings. There might be fear, there might be anger.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. The emotions are in response to how we're organizing, and their energies in themselves that come up and affect the body, the posture,
yeah,
and the tissue. Yeah.
So Hannah's just said, so for the moment, yeah, she's got that. So okay, here's Catherine. How do you work with big disclosures? I guess she means those moments when you get, very big expressions of past events or things that have happened to them. Sometimes they will suddenly come out with some, huge trauma or something. So yeah, she just wonders, Catherine, how do you do that?
That's a good question. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people come out with things and we don't really have the skills to help them with that yet, you know.
Yeah.
So when people say that, I'll say, wow, this is really an important thing. And people do often come out with trauma.
Yeah.
And I make some statements. So it looks like this is something that's being held in your body right here, you know.
Yeah.
I think it depends a little bit on what's indicated there. So you can always say, I guess the one thing that you can always do is say, maybe we can take a piece of this for now, something that seems doable if you want to, and we can work with it and see how it affects your body.
Yeah.
This is a big subject, and you know, we may be able to work with it, and maybe we also need some other help from your therapist or
Yeah. Sure.
right. So I'll say we can take a piece of it and work with it now if you want. If I think the important thing with trauma is that you want to avoid having the person go into that traumatic feeling and just go in and not
That's right.
and almost get disconnected with it. They lose mindfulness. So if that happens, I will bring the person back out and I say, um, Joyce, come out and take a look at me right now. Let's get present because it looks like you're moving into a past memory. Let's just see what's here right now because that's what we can change is how you feel in your body connected to this.
Yeah. I mean, I always take it as a wonderful gift that the space that's been created in the therapy has been safe enough for them to be able to do that, because it can often, I've had that with many times with clients, that's the first time they've ever told anyone about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've been able to create as a therapist, I think through the touch and through the whole thing, we've been able to do that. So I think it's just, I'm so grateful that in a way that they've been allowed to do it. And so it is.
Yeah, and you can name that and say, wow, I'm I'm really honored that you feel trusting enough that you can tell me that. I know it's really a big thing and you've kept it inside for a long time.
I always do say that. And the other thing I always make sure is I always reaffirm the safety of the space. I always say this is completely confidential, and all that. I emphasize all that just to strengthen that, so that they're completely held. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing when that happens. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is rather a long question. I have to read it out. Chetai, how are you incorporating this into your practice? Do you feel an area of congestion while practicing and start cueing them to look into what they're feeling or what that area of the body seems to be telling them? Or for the comfortable place, do you have them do this while you're working on the body? I think, yeah, what she's asking is how do you actually fit it together?
Yes, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. Yeah. Um, can you flash that question out again just so I can make sure I answer all
I've
the
clicked
parts?
it off now, but I can read it out
Yeah,
again. I can read it out again. Yeah. So how do you incorporate it? I mean, basically, I think she's
yeah.
saying it's like, because we did this exercise of holding the shoulder, didn't we? So I think she's asking, like, is it when you
Yeah.
feel that area that you then bring their
Yeah.
attention to it, and how do you fit it in?
So one thing I want to say about that is that yes, you can definitely do that. If this is something new you're bringing in or you're talking, you want to make sure the person's on board with you. So you can, if you feel something, you say, boy, this neck and shoulder is really tight. And it's something that they're working with a headache. You could say to them, while we're working or before, do we want to do a little mindfulness exercise and see if we can find out anything more about what's underneath it?
Right.
So you want to frame it, but yes, a lot of times it comes after some initial palpation, and it could be coming as you're working with Jin Shin Do. We're holding points, and so it's pretty easy to keep holding those points and direct the person inward
Right.
while we've still got hands on. And sometimes it's very nice. So you want to just get sensitive and see, does the point work or the hand work add to what you're doing, or is it distracting?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's when, and you're going to do this for a little bit of time and then maybe do some other work or change the work. So I think you have to play around with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So there's no set protocol as such. It's more a case of integrating it in as you go.
You can integrate it as you go.
Yeah.
And you can tell people about it. Like for me, I talk to people, in the chair for a while and then take them to the table. And in that place, we might do some work just right there.
Yeah.
And then say, would you like to continue with this? And they say yes, then I'll get on the table, and then we might use some touch and say, oh, okay, so here it is, here's the touch, let's hold a couple points, and as I'm doing that, why don't you just stay with it? If I want to ask them to exaggerate it, I probably don't want to be doing something that's releasing it.
No, true.
At the same time, right? So you can put your hands on there for the touch, if that helps, and then let them exaggerate it, or you can take their hands off and just let them see what it is or see what their feelings are. And then when that passes, you could say, let's do some point work and see how that affects it now too. So the point work even becomes an experiment.
Okay, and what about the comfort? How do you put the comfort zone thing? I love that comfort thing, by the way. How do you integrate that in when you're working a session?
So, often at the very end of a session, it just depends. If a person comes in and they say to me, I just really don't know how to relax. I'd like to relax, but I really don't know how.
Yeah.
Right. And they come in and they know they feel relaxed after the points, I'll say, let's do just a little bit of work with it. Maybe they're too tight right at the moment to really get a place of comfort. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll work with them a little bit and see if they start to feel a place of comfort, or maybe right away say, why don't you just check in with right now and notice. I'm sure part of some of you feels tense, but I wonder if there's any part of you that also feels relaxed. Why don't we work with that a little bit, and I'll show you how you can work with this yourself, find a place of comfort, and then just continue with that, and that helps change your nervous system. A lot of times I'll say to people, we can go from your sympathetic doing nervous system to your parasympathetic resting nervous system with these things. So that's how you can change your state.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think we're going to run out of time before we get through the questions are flooding in. But here's another one. Okay. Here's another one. Almut says, what about your inner intent as a therapist? Do you see yourself as a healer or just offering a space? And how do you deal with patience? I think that means being patient, Being
patient. Yes. I guess I do see myself as a healer. I certainly have a lot that I offer people, and I see it as a dance. I'm bringing in my expertise, but I let them be the expert on their own experience. Yeah. So it's a dance. I'm trying to set the stage so that they'll tell me more about what's going on with them, and then I'll use what I know that I think might be helpful, and I'll put it in the context of seeing what happens, doing an experiment, checking in, what's happening, and so there's that dance.
Yeah, brilliant. That's brilliant.
I just want to say, I know we probably do have a lot of questions, and
yeah.
Let's flash that last slide up, because I want to let people know that you can always get a hold of me. I love to, consult. How about one? Oh, let's see, one more. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
So on here, you've got, one of the things you can do is watch some videos, and I've got those listed with the links there. I just put a new one up on working with grief, and there's some articles about that.
Great.
That are on my website, and they were in Acupuncture Today also. And you can get a hold of me. There's my email address with questions, and I love to do consultation and coaching with people. And I do teach other classes, so you can let me know what you're interested in. I'm happy to know that.
Absolutely great. Yes, thank you very much.
Do we have time? Do we have time for another question?
I'm just wondering that we've got 2 minutes left. So here's one about dissociation, which is of course an important thing. What do you do when a patient feels numbness or a sense of dissociation? They don't really feel connected with their feelings.
Yeah. I'll name that. I'll say, so there's a part of you that, it looks like there's a part of you that is staying separate from your feelings.
Yeah.
Let's let that be okay. And why don't we start to find out more about that part of you, this part of you that feels numb? Where do you feel that? How does it seem to be working? So if that's what's presenting first, let yourself explore that. You don't have to get past it to the feelings. Don't let yourself have an agenda. You want just the person to notice that they're doing something and it's covering something else. You're just trying to help them see that themselves. And if you see that they move from numbness and all of a sudden they feel something, you can say, okay, so you just changed a little bit. You're moving in and you feel some feeling now. Why don't you stay with that and see how that feels? Just a little piece of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's absolutely great advice. Okay, well, we're out of time. I'm sorry, we've just got a couple of other questions, but I think we've sort of kind of dealt with them. And like you say, you can always get in touch. I'm just going to put the next slide, the slide up. Next week, we've got Margot going to be coming in with us about how we can use self-care, and this kind of links with what you've been doing with us today, Kamala, with mindfulness practice. So I'm looking forward to that. And that would be the fourth one. I can't believe it. That's actually the fourth one, the last one. It's been an amazing month.
It's been an amazing month. I'd like to say that I think it's had a really nice flow. I think you guys have put together a nice series of things.
Thank you to the ABTA. We had a lot of help from the ABTA selecting it out. It's been nice contrast, hasn't it, with Jay doing the physical thing and then Michael doing the more philosophical thing, and then we've got you with your body wisdom, and then we've got finishing off with self-awareness. I think it's going to be really a really nice shape. But it's been so interesting meeting you, and I really I've really enjoyed it. I tell you what, my shoulders and my chest are never going to be quite the same. They'll be talking to each other from now on. I know they are.
Good. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
You're most welcome, and it's quite a traditional thing to put hearts in the chat. And if you take a little look at the chat, you'll see it's absolutely festooned with hearts. I really enjoyed it. So thank you, everyone, and look out for part 4 next week. And don't forget, there is an online course that's have all the links with it, all of the slides and everything, and you can get in touch with Kamala through those links and everything that we'll put on the online course. So, okay, so have a great evening, and I guess it's morning for you still.
It's morning.
It's morning, Okay, goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.